Hello, hello, and welcome back to another lovely episode of Cooking for the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with me, your host, Robin Leach. ¿Cómo se va? ¿Qué se dice? Now, for those of you who understood what that means you know where our next culinary adventure is taking us. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Italy. And tonight, what we're going to cook from the the country of Italy is called Ciopinno, which is basically a fish stew, sort of spicy fish stew. Now, we are going to use the following ingredients. Here is your accoutrement for our Ciopinno tonight. Now, if you see here, ladies and gentlemen, we have some seafood here. We have some veggies. Now, you can use different types of veggies, but this is what we're going to use, which is the typical classic traditional Ciopinno, which is obviously found on the coastal cities of Italy, mainly because it's a seafood dish. Now, let's start. We've got julienne onions. You can use shallots. Shallots is more commonly used for Ciopinno. I personally like to use onions, so we're using onions. We've got julienne onions. We've got some minced garlic. We've got some julienne fennel. Now, I have it in water right now, but before we saute them and add them to the pot, I'm going to take them out, rinse them, and dry them off. I keep them in water now, so this way they don't get brown and get oxidized in the air meanwhile we're cooking. Right, so we also have here some julienne leeks, right? Julienne leeks. We've got our seafood stock. You can also use fish stock. We're also going to use clam juice, which is not pictured here, but we're also going to use clam juice. We've got some parsley flakes. You can use dried or fresh, whichever. We've got some chili flakes. We've got crushed diced tomatoes. Now, for the crushed diced tomatoes, we're going to use the juice that they're in, the water that they're in as well. Right. We've got some tomato paste. Our good old friend here, Modello. Hello, sir. We're going to use a dry white wine. Now, this is not a dry white wine. This is a pink wine, but I just wanted to show you that we are using a wine. It's going to deglaze after we saute the veggies. You want to use a dry white wine. Right, now we have some Italian bread, which I like to personally use Italian bread. You can use a French baguette if you like. Now, I like to use a sesame seed Italian bread. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cross-section cut some small pieces on a bias. We're going to salt and pepper, olive oil, salt and pepper, and just throw it on the grill real quick and get a little char on them, and that is going to be your accompaniment with this stew, this lovely fish stew. Right, so now onto the seafood. We have some mussels here. We're also going to use clams that are not pictured, but we're going to use mussels. We've got some shrimp. We've got some white snapper here. Now, there's some pieces here that I have bone in and some other pieces that are bone out. I like to have a little bit of both because with the pieces with the bone in give the stew, the Ciopinno, a little bit more flavor, that bold flavor that you want with the bones in. So we have some white snapper. Now, you can use any type of fish you want, but typically for traditional Ciopinno, it's a white fish, preferably possibly a halibut or even a cod if you like, but we're using white snapper today. You can use a different type of snapper or a different type of white flesh fish or any type of fish that you want. So, we're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to show you the steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to saute all these veggies. We're going to start with the onions. We're going to throw in the fennel and the leeks. We're going to throw in the garlic. We're going to deglaze with the wine. Right? Deglaze with the wine. And you want to let that wine cook down. You want to let the alcohol cook out because you don't want that flavor of the alcohol. Then this is where we add the tomato paste, the crushed tomatoes, a little bit of the flakes and the dry parsley, and then your clam juice, your fish or seafood stock. And what that is going to do, it's going to simmer, and it's just going to make, that's your base, that's your liquid, that's where your seafood is going to live and swim, and it's going to be lovely, and it's going to be very happy. Right, so, enough of that. When we come back, we'll show you step by step how we're going to start by sauteing the veggies, making that base for the Ciopinno. Ciao bella, pros, salud, skål, adios. I know, it's horrible, horrible. I mean, it's absolutely. Hey, hello, and welcome back to Cooking for the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with me, your host, Robin Leach. Now, folks, we've started to saute the onions, right? So if you want to just take a quick look here, check it out. So you see, you want a little bit of color, just a little bit of color, and then you see as it's starting to get brown. Those brown bits on the bottom, that's exactly what you want. And then when we deglaze, it's a bit foggy. When we deglaze with the white wine, it scrubs all those nice and bits pieces up. So next, we're gonna add the fennel, we're gonna add the garlic, we're gonna add the leeks at the end, right? And then we're gonna add the white wine. We're gonna deglaze that, and then we'll show you next what's going on. Now, here is a quick tip for those would-be people who've never handled or cooked or worked with shellfish before. Now, if you want to just look here real quick, what you want to do is, I've been rinsing mine now for about 10-15 minutes. I like to rinse them out for about 20 minutes, you know, so if more, better. And for mussels specifically, you want to make sure they're all clean. You got to take what they call the beard. The beard is like right on the side of the mussel, and it's like a little hair. You can use a paring knife, or I just use my hands. You just pluck it off. Make sure you get that off of all of them. Now, I want to show you here, I have some perfect examples of what not to keep and what to keep. So you see here, what you want to do is, if you look, when the mussels, they're cracked like that, cracked, garbage. You cannot eat that. When they're open, like for example, this one. Oh, this one is actually closed. Well, what happens is, when they're open like this, perfect. You see, you want to just tap it slightly and see if it closes up again. If it doesn't, it's dead. You cannot eat that. If it's open like that, slightly, and you tap it, just slightly tap it on whatever, any surface, and you know, side of a pot, whatever, and it doesn't close up. It usually closes back up. If it doesn't close back up, that means it is not alive, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to eat that, because what you're going to do is you're going to get a bad seafood infection, and it's not going to be very nice. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I know, mate. Fuck, you know, it's horrible. It's horrible, and the next day you will be regretting it, right? So what you want to do is go through each and every one of the mussels. Make sure you've got to rinse it under cold water. Go through each and every one of them. Make sure they do not have the beard on it. Here we go. You see that? I've caught one. This is the beard. Perfect example. You see that little beard there? That little hair? That's what you want to tear off. You want to tear that off. Make sure that they're rinsed properly. Right. So, see, that's one right there. You're going to just tear that off right there. So, when we come back, we'll finish the sauteed veggies, which we've got over here. Right. We'll finish the sauteed veggies. We're going to add the tomato paste, the white wine, the fish stock. We're going to add the clam juice. It's going to be real happy. Super lovely, this dish is. The Ciopinno. For now, I must say, ciao bella. Prosco salute. Hasta luego.